Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closers Show. As always, I'm your host, Scott Carson, here today. And I am jacked up, well, like a normal day here in the office. I get pretty jacked up with things. But I'm excited because we've got a very special guest. I think a lot of you are going to get a lot of content out of, a lot of great nuggets out of it. And we're excited to have a special friend of mine, another fellow podcaster who is just doing some amazing things. I've got a little bit of peanut butter and jealous with it based on some of the things that she has done out there. But we've got the host of Unbecoming with Phoebe Mroczek. Mroczek, got it right there the second time. My apology. And so I'm going to shut up and say, hey, welcome to the Note Closer Show, Phoebe. How's it going today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I am great. I'm actually, if you could actually see behind the screen, I'm moving from San Francisco. So my apartment is in chaos. So it feels good to kind of take a step back and get into what I really love and outside of the packing. So
basically you only have the chair, the little night table there, your Yeti mic, and some flowers, right?
Pretty much. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen it behind the scenes. Because I was like, this is what it looks like when I'm on camera. Here's what it looks like behind the camera, and it's chaos. But
so one of the great things, you've been kind of planning this move for a little while. You want to share with our listeners out there kind of what you're doing and what you're kind of hosting? Because before we get to talking about Unbecoming, let's share. You've got some big plans, which I love. So I'll shut up and let you talk about your plan.
Well, it's not been a very long planning process. I'm a quick decision maker. Once I make a decision, I just take action really fast. So about 6 weeks ago, I actually made the decision to leave San Francisco, which is, to most people, it's a little bit surprising, but this is the longest place that I've ever lived outside of my childhood home, which is only 3 years. So for most people, that's kind of scary. And for me, I just decided San Francisco has, like, that season of my life is complete. It feels amazing to kind of let it go. And I was looking at where to go. Did I want to go back overseas, or did I want to stay in the US? And Austin, Texas has been calling me for a little while. And Scott, that's where you and I met, obviously. So you probably, hopefully it has a nice piece in your heart, just as it does mine. And so I am moving home on Sunday to help my sister with a new baby, which is really exciting. So I get to be there for the holidays and then actually move to Austin in January.
Oh, wow. Hey, awesome. Another great rocket podcaster here in Austin, Texas. That's awesome. Good stuff. So for those that are watching and they're listening to that, they're probably wondering, okay, who is Phoebe? Who is Phoebe and what power does she have out there? And you have an amazing podcast just called Unbecoming, and it's phenomenal. Listen to it. Love the conversation. So share a little bit about why people need to be listening to you. Why is it so exciting to have you on the show?
So I think it's exciting to have me on the show just because it's a little taste of something different. I guess I went through a period about 1.5 years ago where I just got really bored. I've been in the online kind of course creation, coaches, consulting space for a couple of years now, and I just found that everybody is saying the exact same thing. And it's this like regurgitated nonsense, and it does work, and there are the templates and the blueprints, and I totally get it, and those are helpful for a lot of people. But I didn't find them helpful for me. And I just was like, I want to have a different kind of conversation about the person behind the business, right? We, as coaches and as marketers, we have to, or just as business owners, we have to market ourselves in a way that feels authentic and genuine to who we are. Because I think we've all had situations where we either get into somebody's course or we hire them, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that's not what I expected. So exactly. I love the sound effects. This is great. I just want you to follow me around my whole life and just provide the soundtrack.
That's what you want, somebody to be the Ty Lopez videographer of the sound as we fall and bust our eyes. Like, here's one for you. Like, if you go for the morning run, you have somebody behind you hitting this.
Yes, because it makes me feel like I'm running faster.
There you go. I'm gonna take that to my training appointment tomorrow. My trainer. Oh, don't worry about running. Hang on. I'm just gonna hit the button and I've done it by osmosis.
Like, whew, feel good. Sweaty and it's fine.
But you're right. You're right. There's a lot of the regurgitation, saying the same old thing. It's boring. And one of the things that I love what you're doing is you're not afraid to dive in and ask questions. I know you do a lot of coaching with entrepreneurs out there to kind of really find out what makes them tick and what makes them, kind of their unique flavor, their unique spice, and then using that to help them really kind of launch what they're doing or help them really expand on what they do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is, everyone talks about your unique voice and your unique story and message and all that. But when I was going through that process, I was like, right, how do I find that? What is it? And what I discovered was what is unique to me. I didn't even realize that it was a thing. I didn't realize that it was a gift. And, I get a lot of praise on my podcast, as I know from watching a lot of your stuff too. I know you can relate to this, and I'm sure you've heard it several times, is that you're really real. And I'm like, is that not a thing? Like, do we just not be honest? I don't know. And I didn't realize that. And so the conversations I'm having are with people that a lot of people might not know. It's not the same kind of speaker circuit that everyone seems to be on. And it's always been in my nature to, when everyone says all the thing, it's like the one kind of blanket statement about this is what everyone's doing, or this is the only way. I look for those words and I'm like, okay, well, it's not the only way. And if it was the only, if it wasn't the only way, what is another way to do it? So I'm constantly looking to kind of evolve my business, my brand, and my clients' brands in a way that feels really fun and really adventurous. I know you and I have talked about adventure, and that's just such a huge piece of who I am. And so how do I communicate that in a way that attracts the right people that want to just have a blast in business, doing what they love to do with people that are amazing and actually making a difference in the world?
Yeah, I totally agree to that. I think a lot of people fall into, like, they're not maybe as imaginative as they give themselves credit for, or they don't really think outside the box. So they get in a habit of repeating what they see done, or what a coach or a figure that they read or watch or listen to doing the same thing. I call it one of the big things in the podcasting, I think, is the Gary V effect. I think
totally.
You know what I mean? Everybody wants to be, I'm going to drop F-bombs all the time, or I'm going to be hard. I'm going to show that I'm hustling. Yeah. I'm like, really? If you have time to show that you're hustling, you're really not hustling. You know what I mean?
And I fell into that, and I just actually talked about it on my show, and I was like, my first website was just so far from who I am. It was, I'm sure I can find a screenshot at some point, but it was like my tagline, my header was like marketing made sexy, and it was just like this, it was kind of like a boss bitch type thing. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
you're allowed. You're dropping that bomb, so you're good.
Awesome. And so it's like that is like that tone, and everything was written in that tone, and that's cool if that's really who you are, but it's just not me. And so I had one interaction with a woman at a conference a couple years ago, and she's like, wait, you're Phoebe? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh my God, you're nothing like I expected.
Wow.
And that changed everything. And I was like, whoa. All right, if our online presence is really our resume, that is like how we show up, that's our legacy, whatever word you want to use, how am I representing myself? And it just like felt terrible. And then I just completely 180 switched to actually trying to figure out who that was, and and mine, as yours probably does. And your flavor is a lot different than somebody else's. And what resonates, your show might resonate with somebody and like might totally repel somebody else. And that's the best part about this whole thing, is like, we're not meant, and I specifically, I can speak for myself, I'm not meant, and a lot of my clients, we're not meant to be mass market. We're meant to be very specific. And I think that's a huge ego shift to make in your business. If you are mass market, then are you diluting your brand, your personality? What are you diluting to be mass market? I just don't believe I don't believe anybody is mass market. Even the Tony Robbins of the world. So
yeah, I totally agree. I think everybody has their own flavor, and the sooner you can find that you're out at your vanilla and not chocolate swirl, or
mint chocolate chip.
Your mint chocolate chip and not vanilla. That's the thing. That's the aspect of things out there. Mint chocolate chip's an inside joke we found out about International Podcast Day, but yes, that's her favorite flavor of ice cream. Anybody wants to buy her some out there, but. You've done, and I think, what are some of the ways that you like to work with entrepreneurs to help them kind of get out of that shell or get out of that vanilla flavoring that I think we like to throw in ourselves a lot?
Yeah, so I host masterminds. I have events, some exciting events that are coming up next year that I'm really excited about, because I do think that the direction of retreats and of, it's a hot topic right now to do events, to do retreats. And I just, again, I feel like everybody's going this way and I'm trying to go in a different direction. So I'm really excited about that. And then just one-on-one. I love working with people one-on-one. And I know everyone's looking to scale with courses and stuff. I've kind of been there, or I've done that. And for me, it's fun. And I think there's definitely a place for it. And a lot of my clients are course creators. For me personally right now, I just want to get in there and get people just to like almost pry open a little bit more of who it is that I'm working with. So group settings, but all very small. So tailored, very customized, and one-on-one.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, as they go to bigger events, they lose themselves in the numbers. They have the ability to hide a little more in bigger events versus smaller ones. It's hard. We just had a fast track training here in Austin this weekend where we had 7 people at. Yeah. And it's hard to hide. It's hard to hide behind bullshit.
Totally.
When you've got 3 days and you're like, okay, one-on-one. What's the mind games that you're playing yourselves? What are you lying to yourself about? Let's work through that and help you overcome some obstacles out there, right?
Totally. And it's easy to buy, a ticket to I went to an event recently that was like thousands of people. Yeah, and you spend $200, but at the end of the day, what matters is the action that you take after it and the accountability factor, right? And so in your event with the 7 people, you can't, as you said, you can't hide, right? You have to show up and do the work. Uh-oh, did I lose you? Uh-oh. Oh, I think it might just be me on. I'm checking this from my phone and I can't tell. If you can just see me, will you just let me know? Oh, I think I might just be me on. Hold on.
Me? Can you see me?
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me. That's great. All right. So we know that's working. Gotta love technology. And
then I logged on my phone. I was like, oh, it is just me here. All right.
There we go again. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. Hang on.
Perfect.
Take 2. All right. Good times. We'll fix that out. And that's the beautiful thing about production, everybody. Hey, everybody.
Totally.
Exactly. Hey, Joe Fair. Hey, Ruby Freeman. Hey, Jeff Wolf. I see some people out there loving and laughing. This is funny. Technology. So
I'm glad I didn't say anything terrible. That's great.
You didn't say anything terrible at all. I'm the one over here dropping F-bombs. Dude, that's the first time that's happened. But anyway, internet, whatever. We adapt and overcome with what we do here. So let's dive into, we were talking about how you like to dive in a little bit deeper, a little bit more intimate with people on a smaller case basis to really kind of help them overcome. And I think the question I had asked, what are some of the better ways to help kind of pull themselves out of their own shadows?
So the first thing is obviously I think the first step is really just to be in a safe space, right? And then to kind of create, so I have this 5-step thing that I use all the time to help my clients, right? And so the first one is just to audit. So it's all A's. The first step is to audit. Like, where are you in your life? What do you want? And I think that's the question that so many people get really caught up on is, what do you want? And they're like, oh, I don't know. But you do know what you want. Right. And it's always funny because you can very often tell me what you don't want, right? And so if I look at your life and your business, and so often we separate those two, right? It's, well, I want this in my life and I want this in my business. And so my belief is that we build businesses as extensions of ourselves. And so if we're not working, our business can't work. And it's so funny, the parallels that we can't see when it's in our business. We're just too close to it and we don't want to acknowledge it, right? So a lot of times it's, I'm having a conflict with my business partner. I'm like, okay, great. Tell me about your marriage. Let's kind of find out where this pattern started. Where did this belief come from that you can't have a successful partnership, whether that be a marriage or, there are just so many different layers to it. And so it's really just acknowledge it. I think it's talking in a safe place where you feel accepted and heard and valued. And then also going to somebody who really gets you, who you look up to for one reason or another and don't put on a pedestal. That's another mistake I think a lot of people make is we put podcasters and speakers on pedestals. They are on a stage for a reason, but it's those speakers that I think speak down to you that for me never have resonated. I want to get up close, in person, really personal. And I go right as deep as we can go and just being willing to just keep digging until we find the answer.
Yeah, I always get that feeling a lot of times. Not all the time, but sometimes you get speakers that are talking at you versus with you. And if we wanted somebody to talk at us, we could just go online and find the bashers. But those actually talk with you. They take the time to ask the questions and really identify the things that are resonate with the audience, stuff like that, have so much more impact out there. So what's the second thing? Audit is number one. So what's the second A?
The second one is called align. So that alignment, this is my favorite piece, right? This is what is your story? So figuring out, I always say your past doesn't dictate your future, but the patterns of your past can show you the world, right? They can show you everything. It lights it up because now it becomes really clear. So with the alignment piece, it's where does your story intersect with your desired customer, your ideal customer? Where do those paths cross? And how can you kind of create the story, right? It's writing the right story. And we each have a bunch of different stories that we could tell. We have the little pieces of our story that appeal to different crowds. But I think when when you've pulled out what we call like the red thread, right? It's like the thread running through your life. Mine's a lot of like adventure and figuring it out and being uncertain. And how do you make that work? Thriving in change, right? I deal a lot with identity, and that's probably one of my biggest passions is talking to people about their identity. What makes up an identity? What is that? So that intersecting with your audience and where do those two pieces align? It's the most important part. And I feel where so many people get it wrong. That
is awesome. All right. Besides alignment, let's go to number 3A. I love this. Every time we get lists, it's always good. I get to use
exactly.
What's the number 3A?
So number 3 is affirm. So this is now that you've audited your life, now that you've aligned where you are and where your audience is, then what is your one core statement, right? What is the one phrase that helps somebody refer someone else to you? So it's the referable phrase. It's basically you giving somebody the language to understand and connect with you. So if you believe, it's a very polarizing statement and it's a tangible statement. So for example, if you believe the only way to build a 6-figure business is through masterminds, let's say, then that's great. I can argue with that. But if I argue with that, I'm also going to stick around to figure out why you believe that is your, that's your kind of core premise, your core statement. And when people have those, if you look at any big brands, any big names that if you really just listen to a couple of their videos, you automatically know what their kind of core promise is because they allude back to it all the time in their videos, in their blogs, in their Instagram stories. The best ones do it. So that's the third step is to affirm.
Nice. That does make a lot of sense. What's number 4?
Number 4 is act. That's always
hardest for a lot of people.
Exactly. The hardest. And this is why coaches and mastermind groups and small groups like you were having with the 7 people, like, as you said, you can't hide in those groups and it forces you to take action, but you can't, where I see so many people are either coming to me is because they've acted before they've gotten in alignment. they haven't done the work before they've actually gotten to me. So they've told all these stories and it's jumbled and diluted. So the action doesn't match the alignment. So now if we have the alignment piece in place and you feel really comfortable and excited about who you are and what you're here to do, then the action piece is super easy, right? So that's I used to do a lot on, or I would say in my area, I was kind of known as the funnels person. So this is a great way for me now to kind of couple the two. I don't want to be known as the funnels person, but that's what a lot of my training is based in. A lot of my experience is based in kind of refining funnels. So how do you, and for me, all I believe that a funnel is basically from start to purchase, everything in between that. And then the second part of the funnel is like the delivery and, the execution of it. So in the action, it's consistency, providing value, and being in alignment and acting as though you are acting from that place of alignment.
That's good stuff. I like it. All right, hang on a second. So that would make number 5 what? But before you do anything, I think we need to have a little drum roll for number 5.
This is so awesome. So number 5 is Amplify. And so that is basically to look at what you're doing that's working and do more of that. How do you amplify? There are a number of different ways to do it, right? You can, if you have a Facebook ad campaign, right, that's putting more money into the campaigns that are working, into the ad sets that are working. If you're doing stuff on Instagram, maybe you're putting some more, you're putting some money behind it. But a lot of the amplification process, everyone thinks is like, what we talked about before is like the one thing that everyone should be doing. I should be on stage or I should be podcasting. And, the amplification part can be getting on 45 podcasts, or it could be on getting 3 really strategic ones. So being super strategic about the way that you amplify your message and brand is going to have a huge impact on the way that your brand is viewed in the world and the impact that you're going to have.
And so I'm willing to bet that it's the more you dive into your avatar, which I guess, there's another A there. We can just go A to the end here, Austin, adventure. We'll throw in there that you're the capital A here. But that's the thing is you got to know if you're going to amplify, like you said, you got to know where you're interconnecting with those clients at and where they're at. If they're not on Instagram, not going to be spending money on Instagram, not listening to what other people are doing.
Yep.
But really identify where your audience is at and really reach out to have this, reach out. The social media is great, but it's not meant to replace conversations because I think it all leads to having one-on-one conversations with your ideal client where social media can help you filter, the people out there to find those that are serious. But I think it's all about reaching out to your audience. I'm trying to come up with A's as I speak here. I'm going to take action.
You're good. You got it.
Every once in a while I have my moments, but that's okay.
But I think to acknowledge what you're saying, I 100% think you're right. And also for you, like look at your show, for example, right? Your people are on Facebook. Your people they want to see you and you're great on camera. You're great in person. And I always, a lot of the complaints that I hear or the struggles of my audience are, oh, I hate sales. I'm terrible at selling. And my response is always, sales is just like, what if we just took out sales and replaced conversation? Just as you said, that's all it is. It's like, hey, are you a fit? Am I a fit for you? It's an interview process. And if this is going to work, awesome. If it's not, I am like the captain of referrals. I love referring people to my friends and other people that I really value because I actually, you know me, I value fun and ease and adventure. And if I am not going to have fun with somebody, then what's the point? I've done that before and it sucks. And I'm sure you have too. And you're like, what am I doing? Why did I take this person on? And now it's like, I think we can be really selective. And I think we should be really selective because we miss out on so many other people where we have these like energy kind of vampires and these people that take up a lot of space in our business, whether that's mental space or inbox space or whatever it is. And I think that if we could just clear out the clutter and really get down and help and focus on the people who desperately want to be helped by us and to be in conversation with us, it would just totally transform all of our businesses. And I struggle with it too, but
everybody does because sometimes we want to take clients on, but the sooner we can get rid of the Debbie Downers,
totally.
the better. Because it is. I mean, I've had that. I always joke around when I'm talking to people, especially through our mastermind and train. Like, listen, The only asshole that's allowed in this area is me. If you're an asshole, that's an A. I forgot about that.
I mean, that one could very well be associated with me, so that's perfect. I can be an asshole sometimes.
Yeah, you don't belong. No offense, and it's okay. It's quite okay, because that's the sooner you know. We talked about to begin with. The sooner you know you're not everybody's cup of tea. You are mint chocolate chip. The better off it is, so that you're not wasting your time and being more effective in what you're doing and delivering better, because you know your audience. You know exactly what makes them tick. You know what hot buttons are. You know what issues they're dealing with on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, annual basis out there, and it makes you that much more effective to have better conversations to help them overcome, hurdles, right?
Totally. And if you think about the people that you follow on social media, like this has been a great exercise for me in the last year, has been when I scroll through, I love Instagram. And so when I scroll through my Instagram, if there's somebody on there that doesn't completely light me up when I see it, I just unfollow. And what that's done is it's helped me see threads and patterns. I'm a patterns person. So it's like patterns and why am I following this person? And when I started to look at it, I was like, really why I love these people is because they're real and they're honest about, that things aren't always rainbows and roses. It's like, yeah, sometimes it sucks. And sometimes I don't want to get out of bed. And, I mean, again, if you could see my living room, it's a nightmare, but it's also like, but that's just real life. And that's why people are, resonate with what you're saying, because it's not the unique, my friend Jada Selner said, it's not the unique message, it's the messenger. And I love that. And it's like, why do we struggle so much with like trying to create this crazy, like really unique message when we're actually just unique in the way that we say it anyway? And you and I could both say two different things and someone's going to hear two completely different things, or we could say the same thing and someone will hear two completely different things. It's amazing. And we just don't embrace it enough.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So let's talk about another A here.
Yeah.
A little bit of your adventures. That's the one big thing. I was like, whoa, you've been all over the place. That's awesome. So why don't we talk a little about your adventures? Because I think that's helped. That anytime you can be adventurous, I think it helps you not be so scared of failure and overcoming things, right? So you've traveled to just 3 or 4 countries. Is that right?
Yeah, about this year. Yeah. Sorry, that sounded so shitty and terrible. But I've traveled to, I think I'm at 63 countries at the moment. And to be honest, it's just always been something that I've been really passionate about, just seeing other things. And, I studied abroad in college and that's where it hit me. And I was like, how have I not, I've lived in this kind of sheltered place and I haven't been out to see the world. And so that's always been a commitment for me, but also in the, I'm a person who likes to figure it out. I'm a problem solver. And so for me, when I've lived in other countries, I will not leave. This is a rule for me. I won't leave unless I have a 10-day itinerary for somebody to take based on my city, right? So, because I think anyone can give you a 2, 3-day, 4-day, 7-day even, look it up online. But to really know a place is you have to know it 10 days worth. And so I have just gone on crazy adventures to really push myself out of my comfort zone. I'm sure there are a million other things that, I haven't done, and that's exciting to me and I can't wait to do it. But I was actively seeking that out. That was a real commitment of mine for all of my 20s pretty much. And now I get to pick and choose different adventures. But tell me about some crazy adventure that you have either been on or are dying to go on.
Oh my gosh. I like traveling abroad too.
Yeah.
We took a 3-week trip to Europe last year had a 7-day Disney cruise in the middle. Steph will be happy.
Fun.
She'll be happy to say that I love Disney cruises. Not a big fan of the parks, but I'll jump on a Disney boat anytime. But the time before, the week beforehand and the week and a half afterwards, we've got something coming up here as well. We've got a 14-day cruise, a 7-day transatlantic, and then a 7-day Spanish cruise around Lisbon, Portugal. And then we'll hit 7 days afterwards for the most part, or as Steph's trying to get me to be gone for a full month. So,
wow.
Yeah, that'll be a fun thing. One thing I always look at my business each year quite a bit and see where we're at as we're coming to the end of 2018, figuring out, okay, what are we doing in 2019? That's always another adventure.
Yes.
What are we tweaking? What are we adding? What are we taking away? The one thing that I have vowed to do is take away so much business travel for more fun travel.
Totally.
And what's funny is just recently, and you'll crack up this because I just had Joe and Matt on a couple hours ago, and they're talking about how they're going to a 3-day work week. Okay.
Yeah.
3-day work week. And then Debbie, spiritual entrepreneur, our friend as well, say she's going to a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my goal is to help me outsource more and take my foot off my foot off the gas, let somebody else put it on for a little while.
Totally. And that's the thing is you get to help somebody else, right? Who's like dying to do the things that you don't like to do. And I did watch your interview with Debbie, and she's amazing, right? And outsourcing, that was like a huge focus of mine for a couple of years ago, and was just thinking about like, what would that look like? And what are the things that I really love to do? And for me, it's like, I love to write. I love to write. I love to speak. I love to travel, and I love to connect with people. And if I could just do those 4 things, everything outside of that, I don't need to be posting to my social media, right? Someone else do that. Let someone else brand me based on what my direction. And you could totally, I don't work on Fridays. I have a policy. I'm like, I just actually pride myself on how little I work, because it doesn't feel, it doesn't feel like work, but I'm thinking about my business constantly. But I love it because it's really fun for me to come up with ideas, as I'm sure it is with you too. Like the thought of maybe going to a 3 or 4 day work week for some people is scary. It's terrifying. But then it's like, yeah, it's just a little more prep on the front end to actually get what you want, which is really exciting. And then you get to just have a more fulfilling life. And that, I think we underestimate. So I'm a big proponent of play, right? We underestimate how much play we need in our life as humans. I was just having a great conversation with one of my friends last night, and I was like, I just want to prove to people that the more you play, the better and bigger your business will grow, because they're absolutely correlated, I believe.
I think so. All work and no play makes Phoebe a dull person, right?
Totally. Very unhappy. Yeah.
So you were talking about maybe somebody traveling a little bit more doing a little bit more domestic travel than international travel there. So you're where's home? You're going to spend the holidays with the family at?
Yeah, in DC.
Okay. So going from San Francisco to the swamp, which will be fun, right?
Exactly.
And then you're moving from DC to Austin.
Yes.
Is that great? And then what's after that? You're hanging out here for a while, or you're going to use this as kind of center part of the country to fly to different places, or what?
Yeah. So I'm a very spontaneous person, which, drives everyone around me absolutely crazy. All my like control freaks really nuts. But to be honest, and I mentioned this at New Media Summit, because I was kind of in conversation about maybe was I going to be doing a huge road trip, which is still kind of in the works, and I'm still trying to work it out. But one of the things that I've really realized is how many events that I go to that are like in one specific location and stuff. And I just see a huge potential. A lot of my audience is in the US and Canada, so it's very easy to come here, which is why I came back 3 years ago. And I'm like, I just want to go out and meet people face to face, like old times. And I have nothing but time, and I have lots of time, and I love to travel. So my plan for probably the summer to get out of the Austin heat is to go on a road trip, and I'm going to choose 3 or 4 locations and get to know some people and have them either come on the show, or, I'll be kind of announcing it throughout, the first couple months of the year. So just kind of getting those wheels in motion. I haven't really talked about it that much, but it's something I'm super excited about, and I know it's going to be a blast. And I think people want more, or I know people want more in-person interaction, right? They want to get out and like touch you and see that you're real. And I want that thing too. I want the same thing. So I'm gonna make it happen this year or next year. I'm excited about it.
That's awesome. Literally back in 2010, I sold everything I owned except the dog. And Princess and I traveled for what we thought would be like 30 weeks. Yeah, manly dog, Princess. Miss my dogs. But the thing is, it turned into something 3 years, basically nonstop travel, bouncing around from house to house, place to places. Friends reached out. It was a great chance to really network and things like that. And we've been looking here doing things. And I agree. We traveled a lot of the same places for work or conferences. Instead of just being such a rush to fly in and fly back out to get home, taking some time afterwards, either doing live shows, live broadcasts here in front of like a studio audience, or in just a networking event just to catch up with people is so fulfilling, and it's easier. It's actually pretty easily done if you just
have
put your
you
mind to it,
done
right?
live in person or like live recordings with people like with the studio audience?
No, I have not yet. We were supposed to have one a couple weeks, 2 weeks ago, and unfortunately, the staff that I was going to be at for one of my sponsors ended up being sick. So, yeah, well, that's okay. We're planning for December, but that's one thing because like we're going to be going to like Traffic and Conversion Summit in San Diego.
Yeah.
So we're going to open it up because we got a big audience down there. So we're going to live stream recording. I've done some things for other like events where I spoke at a real estate club, which is live streamed via Facebook Live or via Zoom or something like that. So we're going to do more of that. I think it's going to be a great way to get people out. People love having their face on camera too, asking questions, being involved. You know, it's the little things where they get a shirt or a sticker or something to really help in. And I think that's going a long way out there. In our neck of the woods, it goes a long way for a couple of reasons. One, it helps us raise capital for our projects, our deals that we're working into. It obviously throws in people into our educational side of what we're doing. But three, it also leads to a big referral base of people. You know, when I first did this years ago, with just going out and knocking on bank doors, it led to an explosion in our business because we were out meeting the people that we're buying deals from. And I'm a big believer in the finance side of the market. We're going to see more of a downturn. We're going to see things start to go south. So it might be time just to fire up the jets to go and start knocking on some bank doors again, and they're out there.
Yeah.
You know,
that's exciting. I'm dying to do live shows. One of my good friends was listening to my show, and I was doing interviews, and I would get so nervous with interviews. I just wasn't sure. You know, the first couple, I was like so in my head and was like, I want to make sure I'm asking the right questions, that I couldn't really be present. And I don't know if you've gotten that, but it's been such an interesting process. And at the beginning, he listened to it, and I asked for feedback, and he was like, I would just so much rather you do this face to face, like live, even if it's, you know, recorded live and then my editor has it. But he was like, you change, you know, he's like, you have that like kind of interviewee voice. And he's like, it's just not as natural. And then I realized, you know, what it was is just better preparation helped me to like not be so nervous. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually not talking about all the things that everyone thinks that this person should talk about. I want to talk about the person behind the business and why you do what you do and all that stuff. And so like the unbecoming process, and it just made me so much more comfortable. But I think doing it live would add a different layer to kind of the realness factor of, I mean, I don't really edit my shows at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I like slip up massively, then, you know, and I fumble over my words all the time, but it makes you more real. And then I find that, you know, if I could just record that, I think it would probably resonate more with my audience.
I think it's a valuable thing anytime, and that's why we do our videos like we're doing this live. You know, Facebook Live. We do every episode live for them. 99% of our videos have been live, and so you never know who you're gonna get comments from people, you know, on Facebook Live or texting comments. One of the things that I did that was really unique is I do a Monday night webinar just about every Monday night, and so I opened it up for questions. And so I had people calling in, and I would just put them on speakerphone, or actually I had it linked into my boom here, so it was loud enough.
Wow.
And so I had that right next to the microphone, and for an hour and a half, we took questions and answers from people, you know, I think it was 5 or 6 investors that called in. They were, you know, and we got them on the phone so everybody could hear it, recorded it, and we logged up. Like, I think we're onto something there. I think it's kind of a cool thing. But what's funny is we've posted it, you know, a couple times before, and then like everybody's like, "Oh no, I don't want to be in a hot seat on the phone, Scott." It's kind of a funny thing that way, but it adds. There's so much more than just the audio side. When you have, you know, in person, you have, you know, the language, you know, our body language, you know, what we say, you know, how do we look at somebody, what we're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, it adds so many different layers versus just audio side of things like that. And I think we all just have to get kind of outside our headspace a lot of times as podcasters and realize, okay, yes, this is more of an audio thing. This is going to go on iTunes and Stitcher, stuff like that. But the extra stuff that people see on YouTube or Vimeo or Facebook Live or stuff like that adds so much to people getting to know you and identifying your issues. Or you can see when you hit something, hit a little bit nail on the head, you see them shift awkwardly or slide away from you a little bit. If they can.
Totally. Or just like completely get out of the camera. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh no, I'm behind. But I think that's the beautiful thing is in this industry, whether it's real estate or whatever it is having conversations, just talking with people and being yourself, starting off with yourself and asking questions. And you, in some of your episodes, actually just about every episode, you ask a question that is, I'm like, where did she come up with that idea? But I love the question. You know what I mean? The questions that need to be asked. I love that out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
I've always been so, like, I don't know if I'm asking the right questions, but once I got out of my own way and was like, all right, I'm just going to be really present with the person, and whatever comes up, I'm going to ask and just go with it and see where it leads, because there's a reason it popped into my head.
Mm-hmm. What's the, and I'm putting you on the spot, I should have asked this beforehand so you're prepared, but what's been probably the most uncomfortable question that you got the most surprising answer from? If you can think back to some of your guests, some of your shows.
I mean, the who are you, like, that I'm asking them or that they're asking me? Yeah.
You're asking them, yeah.
I mean, I just always say, like, I start off every episode with, like, who is the real Scott Carson? Like, that's kind of the way that I phrase it. And no one's ready for that. It's really interesting because people are like, well, I mean, well, it's kind of, and you know, as a podcaster, I'm sure you know this too. It's like, we know the stall tactics when you like repeat the question and like you fill it with all these things while you're trying to think of an answer. And it's so interesting because a lot of times people haven't considered that, right? So that's a really good one. And then at the end, I always ask, if you had the world's attention for 30 seconds, what would you say? And that I probably should prime people with, or I should like let them prep a little bit because they're like, oh. But if you've listened to the show, you know it's coming. And so I always find that is such a great way to really complete the show. You know, I ask them about like their own unbecoming process. And a lot of people don't really want to take you. It's funny. I talk about like seasons. I'm a big believer in seasons, right? Seasons of life, seasons of business, seasons of purpose, because it doesn't feel finite, right? Like settling in one house forever is like, fills me with anxiety. And so when I think about like my seasons of life, people always, and I'll ask about that, and they always default to business, right? It's like, well, my first business or my first job or what, and it's like, that's not what I'm asking, right? I'm actually asking you, but it's up to them to go as deep and as far back as they want. And so maybe, you know, if you had asked me that, I would have been like, oh, well, as a kid, here's who I was, you know, and then I would talk about that and being an athlete and all this, like, but that's a huge season of my life. And I think that's a huge season that a lot of people either don't want to share or are uncomfortable or don't have like the perfect response, like the canned response to, which I'm always trying to get people out of the canned responses anyway, but it sounds very perfect and polished for me to talk about my business. And I can tell you what I do very articulately and, you know, eloquently. But if you're going to ask about, you know, something that I've really struggled with as a child, maybe that's not as like well-formed and well put together. And that's what I want to know, but it makes people uncomfortable.
Well, I guess I can see that, but that's the thing is I think everybody goes through seasons. I mean, everybody sees where it's you're working for a company, you leave that job to go out on your own thing, or you're going through relationship seasons. You know, I went through a major when I got divorced a decade ago, you know, and then there's a period there going through seasons of kind of rediscovering who Scott Carson, the individual, was and to where I'm at today. And, you know, that's not easy for everybody. We deal with so many entrepreneurs that when they want the season to end at their jobs.
Right.
They want to. I had a guy who signed up for one of my training programs a couple weeks ago, and he called me Friday that he'd gotten laid off from his job. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, but weren't you thinking about quitting your job in January? He's like, yeah, I was, but not this soon.
Like, I'm supposed to break up with you. You don't break up with me. Yeah,
exactly. And so I'm like, okay, just chill here. Do this. Come yesterday. He's like, calling me the first thing in the morning. Well, nobody responded. I'm like, dude, it's the weekend. It's Veterans Day weekend. You have to chill. I go, what's going on? He's like, well, I need to make some money. I'm like, wait a second. So you're planning on quitting in January, but did you have any savings or anything? He's like, no. I was like, okay, let's take a step back here. You're not ready for that season. You got to go punch a clock a little while longer to do that. And it's better that I tell you this now versus you struggle for 2 weeks. Yeah. You know, because I had to dig that out of him. Yeah. You know, and I'm, you know, it's like, it's not the most comfortable question. Do you have any money? Do you have any savings? Were you ready for this? Yeah. But those have to ask because it saves you a whole lot of heartache and stress in the long run, right?
Absolutely. And I think like, kudos to you for him feeling, you've created a place where he feels comfortable even coming to you with a really uncomfortable situation, and that's why so many people make the mistake of hiring people that they just like look up to and are hoping to like get in their sphere. It's like, but who do you really have to turn to? My coach, I have several people that I pay and are unpaid and mentors and all this stuff, but I know the certain people I can go to when I'm like, oh my God, shit is hitting the fan massively and I don't know what I'm doing, or I can't do this, or whatever it is, whatever season that is. And so, that says a lot about who you are to this guy, that he feels like he can really turn to you and confide in you.
I appreciate that. Now, you shared the other day, you've had your 1 year of podcasting on your own.
Yes.
You shared the fact that you'd been a co-host beforehand with another show and, millions of downloads, and you were thinking of leaving, and people weren't always the most positive about you making that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I got to do this. I know I got to do this. I got to find the voice of Phoebe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And looking back now, I'm sure, and I can see the energy in your face. Yeah. I can see it, but it's such a rewarding thing to stick, because that's not the easiest thing. Leaving something that we know or comfortable with, or a little bit moving to something we're not comfortable with, but you stuck with it, and you had the consistency not to give up on what you'd accomplish, and you've had a lot of doors open up in the last year, correct?
I have, and it's funny. It all kind of came at a time when, so I wasn't always, so I was doing a lot of coaching, but I was also doing a lot of consulting. So I was doing a lot of like copywriting and behind the scenes business, like strategy. And so I was kind of a business strategist and all this. But what I had realized was maybe about 2 years ago, or a year, no, maybe, I think it started about 2 years ago. And I realized, I was like, I am writing for all these other people, and I am building all these other businesses around me that my voice had gotten lost. Performer. I'm a big personality, and I wanted to be on stage and singing and dancing and stuff like that. And that just kind of got weighed down, and I really preferred to be behind the scenes. And so I had to take a look at that and was like, in my personal life, I'm the person hosting parties. I love theme parties. I love, surprising people. And I was like, why is this not translating into my business? What is it that I'm afraid of? And so when I looked at that, I was like, well, I'm afraid that I have nothing to say. And so I just thought, and that question, that has been a roller coaster of emotions, or a big wave to ride for me, of like, what is it that I'm actually even saying? And so at the beginning, it was like, well, the things that I experienced from the former podcast were like a great hit right off the bat. And we just like, we're rolling with it. We had, I left right when we almost hit 1 million downloads. And so to leave that and to go from 1 million to 0 is probably one of the most humbling experiences that I've ever had. And to go into my Libsyn and just be like, oh my God, what have I done? But I just knew that, I don't know what it was. I was like, I have to do this for me. And so the consistency, as you said, my 1 year, I was like, my goal was to complete 1 year of podcasting. That was it. And I was like, maybe if I hate it, that's fine, but I can change my mind. And I always give myself permission to change and evolve, but I stick to what I say I'm going to stick to. And so after 52 weeks, I was like, I fucking love this. This is so fun. And it allows me to connect with people in a way that I never have before. It's opened a ton of doors for me. It's allowed me to meet so many new people that, maybe I wouldn't have access to, or, like with us, we met at a podcasting conference, and people and relationships that I so value. And I just thought, I can do this. I've proven it by myself. I had to do it myself. And then it's a blast. I love doing it. It generates money for me. It helps people connect to me, which is the most important thing. And then looking forward, now that I've built that, I feel like I just add, sprinkle in a little strategy, a little more refined strategy, and it's perfect. It's like my perfect business. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, but the thing I want to bring up too is, and I want people to really listen to this, everybody out there that's listening to this or watching this, is you've built consistency, you've built it to what you want to become. And I think a lot of times we lose our voices, whether you're working for somebody or you have a business. We sometimes get bogged down in the business aspect of, instead of being who we are, right? Mm-hmm. We as you say, we unbecome who we are, who we start out to be, right? Yeah. And you have to learn to fight that. And sometimes you got to give up a good thing to go and be your own thing, to go out on your own. I'm hearing show tunes in my head right now. It sounds like something from like 90s drama or 80s drama I'm growing up with, right? Moving on up.
Exactly.
Not quite the Jefferson, but something's in there. But that's what I was saying is you can be consistent. You can stick with it. One podcast a week, 52 weeks straight. Boom. It's helped you really rediscover your passion, help you really identify who you are. The 5 A's, as we like to say, we've got a lot more A's on here than just 5 this afternoon. That's okay, but that's commendable. And I want people to listen to that out there because I think a lot of us, so many people struggle. So many people are doing things they dislike. Why? Because I have to, because I've got these responsibilities. Sometimes, and I know it's easier, hey, don't have a family, it's easier to give up things and move on with things. But if you've got a will and you want to get somewhere and you're not where you're at, reach out to Phoebe, reach out to other people out there because they'll help you find that path that we can't see. Maybe it's covered over with dust and leaves and stuff like that. You just need somebody to come brush it off a little bit and listen to your internal talk when you aren't listening to your own self, right?
Absolutely. And it's so funny when people are like, well, it's easy for you to say fill in the blank, you blank, and I have a really hard time with that because I've said that to so many people. I'm like, well, easy for you to say, you have a list of 300,000 people on it, blah, 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 whatever, or, you're married or and there's never going to be the right time to do anything. I hear it's like having kids. I don't have children yet, but there's never going to be a right time. And one of the things that I really wanted to, so in that post that you are alluding to, that I really wanted to get out and communicate was like, nobody told me that it wasn't always going to be this amazing high and that some weeks are going to feel like I'm kind of clutching at straws a little bit. And I'm like, what am I going to talk about? I have a bazillion things to say in real life with my friends, but then I would get in front of the microphone and be like, do I really is that important? And so what I started doing is I look at every post, and this might be a little bit morbid, but it's how I kind of look at everything is like, when I write a post or I produce a podcast, I think to myself, what if something happened to me tomorrow? Would I be proud of this post going out? Every post. That's why my Instagram is like my blog. I write on it almost every day. I love it. And if we just treated that, constantly in our life, if we just kind of passed it through that filter, not only would we really think twice about what we're putting out in the world, but we'd also think twice about the action that we're taking in life. Right. And that doesn't have to be building a business. That can be pursuing a relationship. That could be, we had a path illuminated before us and what would be on that path. Like that is the most exciting thing to me. So it's the coupling put out something that you think is valuable, put out something that you're proud to put your name on in whatever area of your life that is. And then moving forward with that, today's a new day, tomorrow's a new day. Friday's a new day, whatever. But I think if we all could just make that shift, and obviously I struggle with it too sometimes, but I'm telling you this and whoever's watching and listening to this just as much as I'm telling myself, right? It's a constant reminder, but keeping myself in check and keeping that conversation, it's like a balloon in the air, keeping it in the air allows me to become a more impactful business owner and a more impactful coach.
Deep thoughts with Phoebe today. That's a good. I know.
This has been like brewing in my head since I've been packing. I'm like, God, I'm just so frustrated with, people that feel like their light has been dimmed, right?
And and you just have to take the film off and then turn the switch up a little bit, turn a little bit of energy up.
Exactly. Turn the volume up on you, right? Whatever that means to you.
We might have to label it. Turn the volume up with Phoebe. Pump the jam. Pump it up.
Totally. Give me some like spandex and we're there. All my friends would love
parachute pants. There's the first theme party. Parachute pants party.
I mean, as long as you're gonna be there. If not, then I'm not gonna
pull out the Z Cavaricis. Good stuff. The question for you: what's the best way for people to reach out and find more about Phoebe?
So I always give out my email address, but it's hard for people to spell. So I'm sure it will be somewhere on here, but it's Phoebe at PhoebeMroczek.com. I'm on Instagram every day. So Instagram.com/Phoebe Mroczek. Mroczek. And then reaching out to me on Facebook. Same thing, Facebook / Phoebe Mroczek 1.
There you go.
I'm easily accessible across all social media channels. And with a name like mine, you can't miss me.
Can't miss it. No, unique out there. Phoebe at PhoebeMroczek.com. Everybody out there, it's on the video if you're watching there. If you're listening to us, we'll put it in the show notes as well for you to reach out to her. Big fan of Unbecoming. You got to go out and listen to it, everybody. Amazing podcast, amazing conversations. Phoebe does a great job. And so, Phoebe, I think we're at a good stopping point for the day. We could go on and on and on. We'll have to wait for that till you get here to Austin, and we'll have to do some live episodes in person. But thank you so much for being on the Note Closer Show. You dropped some great nuggets out there today. I'm sure everybody's loving it. We've seen a lot of reactions, a lot of love from people out there, some thumbs up out there. So have a safe holiday. Enjoy your move. Although nobody enjoys moving. But enjoy it. As you move you're basically just hop, skipping, and a jump across the country. But
exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we will see it when you're here. Let us know. Let me know when you get in town. We'll definitely take you out. Have some fun out in the town. All righty.
Awesome. Thank you. And just thank you so much for all that you're doing in the world. You're putting out great stuff and helping a lot of people. And I really appreciate that and admire that. And I'm very inspired by it as well.
Thanks, Phoebe. You do too. You're doing a great job as well. So
thank you.
Welcome. All right, everybody. Well, hey, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of the Note Closer Show. Go out, like I said, check out Phoebe's podcast, Unbecoming with Phoebe Mroczek, on iTunes. Subscribe to it. Leave her a 5-star review. She does a great job. You will not be disappointed. So, as she likes to say, go out, take action is one of the top 5 A's. If you do that, we'll see you all at the top. Bye, everybody.